How to get started with kettlebells. So I had the pleasure of being on a Jiu-Jitsu podcast with a good friend of mine, Tony Casares. He runs a Jiu-Jitsu school in Raleigh, North Carolina. And at the end of the podcast, he asked me a question. He was like, where can Jiu-Jitsu guys, or just people in general, like, how do they get started? Where do they get started? And I thought this was a really good question because most people, when it comes to strength training with kettlebells, think that they need to start with the kettlebell swing. And regardless if you're a beginner or an athlete, or you've been exercising for some time, I don't recommend starting with the kettlebell swing, because that represents the top of the performance progression pyramid. The performance progression pyramid, think of it as 5 steps or 5 phases. The foundation of the pyramid is strength stability. The second phase is strength endurance. Third phase is hypertrophy, fancy word for building some muscle. Fourth phase is maximal strength. And then the fifth phase is power training or power endurance. Swings, cleans, snatches, jerks represent the top of the pyramid. Most people should not be starting there, but unfortunately, that's where people get started, ultimately learning how to use a kettlebell completely backwards. That's the equivalent of me telling someone that is trying to get in shape to say, hey, go get on the track and start doing 400-meter sprints. How is that going to turn out? I'm willing to bet not very well. Kettlebell swings are the equivalent of getting out and doing 400-meter sprints. They're the ballistic, dynamic, sexy exercise. Instead, I recommend learning how to deadlift the kettlebell, learning how to pick it up, learning how to carry it, and then learning how to put it over your head safely with a kettlebell press. That alone will teach you many of the fundamental movement patterns. There are 7 fundamental patterns: push, pull, squat, gate, rotation, carry, and let's do it again. Push, pull, squat, hinge, rotation, gate, and carry. Well, learning how to deadlift, learning how to hold it in the rack position, learning how to press, you're covering hinge, carry, push, lower body pull. You're covering many patterns. And this is important because every day for the rest of your life, you'll need to pick things up off the floor and you'll need to carry things. The next thing you need to do when getting started with kettlebells is not jumping right into a training program, a kettlebell program. Here's why. You haven't earned the right to follow a training program, period. Not an easy thing to hear sometimes. When I first opened up Hardstyle in 2011, our mantra was, and is still to this day, to earn your training. You need to earn the right to go through a training program. And so how do you do that? You earn the right by practicing. This is the same thing that you go through in Jiu-Jitsu. If you do Jiu-Jitsu or any kind of martial art, what do you got to do? You got to practice regularly. You don't spar and go crazy. Some people do, but those are the people that get injured and can't maintain the longevity of Jiu-Jitsu or any other physical activity. They're one and done. So before you even think about a training program, practice. This is aligned to what we call the strength engine. It's one of our 2 pillars of our philosophy of strength training. This is the less is more approach. So what would that look like? So let's say deadlift and press. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Set a timer for 10 minutes on Monday and practice deadlifting, practice pressing a kettlebell. Wednesday, practice for 15 minutes. Saturday, practice for 30 minutes. You do that for an entire month, you have earned the right to step into your first training program. So don't start off right away with the kettlebell swing. Learn how to deadlift, learn how to carry the kettlebell, learn how to press it and put it over your head. Then don't jump right into a training program. Practice, acquire your skills, and earn the right to start a training program. And that is how you get started with kettlebells.